As this is an analysis of the storyline, it contains spoilers for Hellblade 2 with references to major plot points in Hellblade 1. In Hellblade 2, Senua faces 3 giants who are the personification of the 3 emotions that rule over her: rage, guilt, and fear. While the first game was a journey of revenge, we now go with her on a journey of redemption, which takes us deep into Senua's world and mind. Our story begins with our constant companions. The Furies are a manifestation of Senua's internal conflict and fluctuate between encouragement and criticism. In Hellblade 2, there was a very interesting turning point before Senua enters a ritual in which the voices deliberate if Senua will need them, and how she will fare alone. From this point onwards, we see the voices gradually become less critical of Senua herself. As she journeys along the path of redemption and self-acceptance, we see her internal dialogue mirror her growth. Still expressing very real human fears and concerns, but also more sober to Senua's abilities and strength. While the first game served to show how those with psychosis experience their world without reprieve from the voices for the player, Hellblade 2 offers more hope. That while the voices never cease, it's in their gentleness that they become bearable. Senua's mother Galena embraced her visions as a gift instead of a curse. In Hellblade 2, we get to experience Senua accepting the same as she walks the path of the hidden folk. This also gives us new weight into the visual puzzles synonymous with the game. As we come to learn, Senua can see things deeper, and we discover this is not just in her visions, but in her empathy as well, which is the very thing she uses to conquer the giants. There are 3 parallels of motherhood and sacrifice in Hellblade 2. The first is with Galena, who is sacrificed by her father in his religious fanaticism to rid her of the supposed family curse. But in the sacrifice, a symbolic presence for Senua is born, and Galena becomes her beacon of hope throughout both games. The second parallel is only a tragic end. We get to hear how in a moment of desperation, a mother in the village ravaged by the Drago sacrificed her own crying child so they would not be heard and taken by them. The third parallel mirrors the image of the second. Facing devastation from the volcanic god Askja, Ingun, in an effort to save her child from the Drago created of this tragedy, offers her child up to the hidden folk and sacrifices herself to Askja in return. A life for a life. Of course, this action creates another parallel between the giant and Senua, who are both consumed by the rage at the loss of the ones they love. In Senua's case, the loss of Gideon. Senua also meets a few companions in her journey, each holding up a mirror to a part of herself. Fargrimr is the one who sets Senua down the path of finding the hidden folk, and in discovering that she is a seer. In my opinion, he is not just a mentor, but also the personification of the kinder side of the Furies influenced by her mother. Like Senua, Fargrimr has a high level of empathy and ability to see others for who they really are. He is a mirror to Senua for the better parts of herself, leading her to make choices such as sparing Thorgestr. Senua and Astridr are shown to be one of the same. Both warriors, both come from places ravaged by the raiders, both suffering a great loss, and both alone in the world. Despite all their similarities, Senua's relationship with Astridr is a dance of trust, both with Astridr and within herself. And as she learns to trust herself more, so too does her relationship with Astridr develop. Thorgestr and Senua both believe they are fated to become their fathers. Both have made choices based on the rule and power their fathers have over them. From their first battle on the beach, Thorgestr is a mirror to the parts of Senua that hold rage and fear, and he forces her to confront intention. One of the other parallels in the story is with Senua and Thorgestr, who are both burdened by the sins of their fathers. Both fathers rule with fear. For Zynbel, it's in his religious fanaticism and abuse that is in turn internalized by Senua. And for Goldi, it is in his tyranny and lust for power and control. Both are willing to go so far as to sacrifice their own kin to feed that fear, and both are monsters which Senua must overcome. Despite going through the very experience that encompasses what the giants are made of, Senua herself never becomes a monster. In fact, she even stops Thorgestr from becoming one as his father did. The game shows us that even if our intentions are in the right place, even if we justify the cost, there is still only ever one right choice. And herein lies the lesson of the game, that despite our circumstances, despite the events that shape us, and despite the voices in our own heads, we have the choice to not let them define us. This was an analysis of my first Hellblade 2 playthrough. If you're interested in a revised video after the second playthrough featuring the other narrative perspectives, please consider subscribing.